Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings for Wednesday, May the 15th. We do have another showdown slate for Wednesday. We got Toronto and Milwaukee in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. All the big prize pools are on this showdown slate, so I'm going to continue to do videos for these rather than doing the two-game slates. Hopefully you do enjoy these. They can be very profitable if you know what you're doing. There is an edge in these showdown slates, in my opinion. We're going to take a look at the player pool. We'll start off at the top, work our way down. I'll talk about the studs, the guys that I want to pay up for the most, the mid-tier plays I like the most, and then we'll talk about some cheap guys that I think are key to getting into your lineup to fit in the studs that you want. I do like to touch on the value plays because I think those are the most important on these showdown slates. Just before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below, so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. So starting off at the top with Giannis, most expensive option on this slate, $11,600 if you want to play him in your utility. He's $200 more than Kawhi Leonard. If you want to play him in your captain, he's going to cost you $17,400. So he is very expensive if you want to put Giannis in your captain, but there are some value plays I do like quite a bit, and Giannis is definitely a guy that I want to pay up for. I do slightly prefer him over Kawhi Leonard. I think there is enough value to where you can play Leonard and Giannis together. Obviously, Leonard was awesome in that Philadelphia series, and I expect him to be just as good in this Milwaukee series. I think Toronto has a chance to win this series if Kawhi's playing like he did in that Philly series. Giannis, on the other hand, though, just been a dominant all postseason, continues to be dominant. He's going to be relied on even more in this series against Toronto. I expect a lot of these games in this series to be very close. We saw Boston kind of struggle against Milwaukee. There were a couple blowouts throughout that series. I don't think that's going to be the case here against Toronto. I expect a lot of close games. I think we're going to see Giannis playing more minutes. He was only playing like mid-30s in minutes. I think we're going to see him get into the upper 30s, might even eclipse 40-plus minutes some nights. When Giannis is playing big minutes, we know he's going to produce. He can get points, can get rebounds, can get assists. He's pretty much a threat for a triple-double every night. So I really like going to him as an expensive option. You do have Kawhi for $200 more, but I think I do prefer Giannis. But if I can fit in both guys, I'll be trying to do that quite a bit. Pascal Siakam is a guy that I want to touch on here. I really like him in this matchup with Milwaukee. He was very good against Milwaukee during the regular season. Through 4 games against him, he's averaged 40 DraftKings points. I expect him to play huge minutes. I think he's going to be needed defensively to guard Giannis. I expect Siakam guards Giannis for a decent amount of this game when Kawhi is not out there guarding him. So I really like Siakam here. This is a guy that just has a ton of upside. Can get points, can get rebounds, can get assists. Pretty much a threat for a double-double, triple-double. I wouldn't say triple-double, but double-double almost every night. Can get you 20 and 10 on a nightly basis. Siakam has 45, even 50-point upside. We've seen him go for 50 DraftKings points so far this year. So I really like Siakam at 8,400. I think he's going to be a core play for me. Building around him and Giannis is going to be something I do quite a bit today. And then for value, like cheaper plays, there's a couple guys I want to touch on. I think Marc Gasol at 6,600 is a really good option here. He was another guy that did very well against Milwaukee. Through 2 games against them during the regular season, he averaged 34 DraftKings points. We saw Serge Ibaka have a lot of success against Milwaukee when he was the starter and Gasol was not on the team. I think Gasol is going to be able to dominate against this Milwaukee front court. Brook Lopez, not really that great of a defender, not that great of a rebounder either. This is a spot where Marc Gasol can really dominate on the boards. We could see him going for 10 and 10, 15 and 10 on a nightly basis. I think Gasol's finally going to get 30-plus DraftKings points. Like we saw during the Philly series, he was just mid-20s pretty much every night, 26, 27, 22, 27. I think we're going to see Gasol start to get his scoring up a little bit, start to get the rebounds up a little bit during this series. At 6,600, I do like him quite a bit if you want to go to him in this mid-range. There's a couple value plays I like as well. So even with Malcolm Brogdon back, he's going to be coming off the bench, so Nikola Mirotic is still going to be starting. We saw Mirotic in the last game of the Boston series play very well. 36 DraftKings points in 28 minutes, had 10 and 11 with 3, 1 and 2, double-double. And he played about 30 minutes just every game that he started. I expect that to be, or continue to be the case here. I think Brogdon played about 17 minutes off the bench, and they do want to get him more minutes. Pulling up his game log, yeah, he played 17 minutes in his first game back from injury, had 22 DraftKings points. I think Brogdon probably gets about 21, 22 minutes in this game, and then just as the playoffs go on, he'll continue to see his minutes slowly increase At 6K, only seeing about 20 minutes off the bench. Don't know if I want to go to Brogdon, so that's why I kind of like going 800 cheaper to a guy like Mirotic. I think Mirotic is a very good value here. Also think Brook Lopez is a very good value. He's probably my favorite cheap play out of all the cheap plays available. So this is just a totally different matchup, totally different series. We saw Brook Lopez kind of have a lot of troubles against Boston, just couldn't really get things going. Some nights he didn't even get many minutes, like against the last game of the series, only 18 minutes. Shot 0 for 7 from the field, had a terrible game, just 5 DraftKings points, had 5 fouls in 18 minutes. I think Brook Lopez is going to finally see 30-plus minutes in some games during this series. He's going to be needed with size to defend a guy like Marc Gasol. We saw Boston was kind of able to go small and kind of like get Brook Lopez off the floor. I think Brook Lopez is going to be needed here against this Toronto team, against a front court of Siakam, Ibaka, Gasol. Those three guys, going to be some size needed there to defend those three guys. So I think Brook Lopez at 4,200 can finally be a guy we roster. I really never considered him throughout that Boston series, just wasn't a guy that was on my radar. That's not going to be the case here. I do like him quite a bit as a value at 4,200. So I would say if I'm building a lineup, these are probably my 3 favorite plays to start off with. But we'll talk about some ways that you can construct your lineup. Like if you want to play Giannis in your captain, we'll look at different builds. If you want to go with Giannis in your captain, if you plug in Brook Lopez as a value play, if you go to a guy like Marc Gasol in that mid-range, or Siakam, we'll put Siakam in there. You're left with enough salary to where you can work around that. Like if you want to go with Mirotic, I think Mirotic is a pretty good play at 5,200. You could plug him in. If you go to Marc Gasol at 6,600, that gives you enough salary to play a guy like Kyle Lowry if you want to do that. If you want to go with like the super stud and try and fit in Kawhi with Giannis, it's going to be a little bit tough, but you could definitely do it. I think George Hill at 3,400 is a value play that is definitely in play for cheap. We saw during the Boston series, he was playing about mid-20s in minutes off the bench. I think with Malcolm Brogdon back, we're going to see his minutes trend down a bit, but I think he's still going to see about 22, 23 minutes off the bench, even with Brogdon healthy. So he could be a guy that you look to for value. Very cheap, he's 3,400. If you want to go double stud and play Giannis and Kawhi together, you're going to need some cheap value. So if you were to plug him in at 3,400, that would leave you enough for Nikola Mirotic at 5,200. So this is definitely a lineup build that you could look to. I do really like this lineup quite a bit. If you go like with a cheaper captain, maybe you go with a guy like Pascal Siakam and then try and fit in Giannis and Kawhi. It's a little bit easier to do. You don't have to punt all the way with George Hill. You can plug in Lopez at 4,200. You can plug in Mirotic at 5,200. That leaves you enough for a guy like Danny Green. So if you would rather play Danny Green over George Hill, then that's a build that you could look to. Danny Green, not usually a guy I roster, just because the upside really isn't there. But we know when he gets open, gets those corner threes, starts hitting some threes, he can definitely be a guy that gives you like 25, 22, 25 DraftKings points. So that's another build that you could look to if you go a little bit cheaper with a guy like Siakam at captain. I don't think I want to go down to like Marc Gasol or Ibaka or like Mirotic. I don't think these are guys I want to play in my captain slot because I just don't know if they have that upside that you really need. I think captains, I'm probably either playing Giannis, Kawhi, or Pascal Siakam. Those are my 3 like captain choices. Just don't think there's enough upside down here for all these cheap plays. Like you're going to need these cheap guys to go for like close to 40 DraftKings points to be a good captain play. Mirotic could do it, but I just don't see it. Lopez maybe does it, but I just don't see him getting that much. I think Lopez is probably good for like 25 to 30. Don't know if you get like 40 plus out of him. So I really like going to a guy like Giannis or Kawhi at captain, Giannis being my preferred option. Then looking at some of those value plays like Mirotic, Lopez I really like. I think George Hill, if you really need to save, is a guy that you could look to. Looking at some guys I didn't talk about, like Chris Middleton, 9,200. I don't mind on this Showdown slate. Obviously, it's a one-game slate, so he's going to be a guy that we roster. But if I'm just making one lineup, I think I would rather save the $800 and go down to Pascal Siakam. Between Eric Bledsoe and Kyle Lowry, I think I would prefer Kyle Lowry. 7,400 for Lowry. He was very consistent during the Philly series. He was not like insanely good. Like, he didn't give you any really upside games. His best game was 37 DraftKings points. Eric Bledsoe was not great at all during the Boston series. His best game was 35 DK points, I believe. He had a lot of kind of down games. His minutes were down as well. We saw during the regular season, Bledsoe was playing like upper 30s in minutes. During the Boston series, he was only playing about mid-20s, which is definitely a bit concerning. So I think if I'm going to either Lowry or Bledsoe, I would prefer Lowry between those two guys. I mentioned Gasol. I really like him in this matchup. Totally different matchup. I think Gasol's going to be able to have success. Brogdon at 6K, I'm not a fan of because I just don't know if he's going to see enough minutes to pay off that price tag. Ibaka coming off the bench as like a low-owned play, you could look there, but I still would think I would prefer Mirotic for 400 less. Talked about Danny Green, talked about Brook Lopez, really like Brook Lopez. George Hill I like as a cheap punt play. But I think that's probably it for this Showdown slate. I think I covered all the guys that I feel like I'm going to be playing. Like past George Hill, I just don't think you're going to be considering any of these players because they just don't get enough minutes. So I guess that is it for this Showdown slate, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. Or you can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Feel free to message me on Twitter if you have any questions. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.